Returning now to the U.S. presidential election, joining us now here in the studio is Karl Widerquist. He's an associate professor of political history at Georgetown University. Thank you so much for coming in. Let's talk about the tone of this campaign. Even in their final pitches just a few hours ago, we heard optimism from Hillary Clinton, saying that she would unite Americans, and a more negative tone from Donald Trump, even in these last hours, talking about a rigged political system, a rigged Washington establishment. What does this say about this election and the days ahead after we know who the winner is? How difficult is it going to be for the next president to change this tone around?
Well, the first thing it says is that Hillary thinks she's going to win and Trump thinks he's going to lose. He would be talking about unity if he thought he was going to win. But the tone of this campaign, which follows a trend of increasingly negative tone of campaigns for 30 years in the U.S., is
but it seems
going
like
to make it
this
hard.
Time around, it's worse than it's ever been.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But that is, a trend and a trend turning up. And this is very much a culmination of people becoming more and more divided in the United States. Part of it is because of things like gerrymandering, which get people voting in districts with people very much like themselves. But it also has to do with media outlets that are increasingly skewed one way or another. And an interesting article I was reading had a great take on it, was that we have weaker party discipline but stronger partisanship, meaning that there's partisan feelings even when no one is forcing you. It used to be that party whips had to really whip people into shape to get them to vote on their side. But now we have people that are really out to get the other party. And that undermines the idea that is supposed to govern our system. The idea is to force people who have different beliefs to sit in the same chambers together and come up with compromises. That's the intent, but as experience has shown, it doesn't always work out that way. And when it doesn't lead to compromise, it leads to obstructionism and making it hard for anyone to go.
And Donald Trump has indicated that he might not accept the election results if he loses. I don't know what effect that's going to have if he decides not to accept the election results. But even if he does, his supporters might not, right? And what will that mean going forward for the new president?
Well, when you say I won't accept the results, there are three different ways to do that, three different levels of that. One I find perfectly acceptable. One is that I will challenge them in the courts. And everyone says how great it was of Nixon not to challenge the irregularities in the 1960 election, which I believe just the opposite, that we should have brought those irregularities out and got that to the fore. There was no threat to democracy in the challenge in the 2000 election. The second level is nonviolent protest, to people get on the street and demonstrate for how they feel. And the third is violent protest, and actually violence. And he's been really unclear about what he means by not accepting those. And he might well be inspiring some people to take up guns and do something
Do you think, precisely because of the negativity that we've seen during the campaign, the insults and everything that's happened, that's likely to happen if Trump doesn't win and says, I won't accept the results, that his supporters might resort to violence?
Well,
has it reached that stage? Will it reach that stage, you think?
I still think it's highly unlikely. But if you had asked me in any other election in my lifetime, I would have said that's impossible. That will not happen after this election. I cannot say that with that level of certainty this time. My hope is that nothing will happen. And my lesser hope is if something happens, it will be very scattered and small. And I think those are far more likely than some major riots or major armed actions. I still think those are very far-fetched.
Okay, thank you so very much for talking to us. Very interesting to hear your thoughts on this. Karl Widerquist of Georgetown University here in Doha. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome.